Hey, and welcome to the third part of the zombie game tutorial. The last two episodes are on the playlist linked below, and they'll get you up to speed on the camera, the movement, and this nice little play area we got going. You can also download the complete projects off of the GitHub link in the description. And for this video, just make sure to download part 2, since part 3, aka this episode, will have the zombie AI already up and running, and, well, we're here to learn, right? Other than that, let's get the zombie AI going. Alright, so first things first, let's open up our navigation tab by going to Windows at the top, AI, and then Navigation. From there, select the Play Area object, and in the Object tab, check the Navigation static box. In the Bake tab, hit Bake, and you're good to go. If you want to see the actual NavMesh area, click on the gizmo tool in the top right, make sure NavMesh is checked, and then enable the gizmos, and there's our mesh. And at this point, you're probably asking yourself, what is a NavMesh? This is essentially just an area that defines where an AI can and cannot go. And now that we have our AI area defined, we can create our zombie by creating a new capsule. Let's name it zombie and let's add the NavMeshAgent component to it. This goes hand in hand with the NavMesh that we created, in that the NavMeshAgent applies the movement so that it actually follows the target. In order to set that target though, we're going to have to create a script called zombie, and from there, that's where we're actually going to set the target. Not too much going on in script for this one, but we're going to have to create our reference to the NavMeshAgent first by importing the UnityEngine.ai library. We also need a reference to our player object so that the AI can follow its position. After that, we just get our NavMeshAgent component and we update its destination every frame to be the player's position. And after hitting play, it doesn't work. So just make sure to pass in that player object onto the zombie script, and that'll fix it. And there you go. Alright, well this wouldn't be a tutorial if you didn't learn how to interact with the player, so let's create a collision check for when the zombie actually touches the player. Now, we definitely want some way to access our player script, and we want to reduce their health. So we can create a reference to the player script that is attached to the object that the zombie collided with, and if the object does have the player script, we can call a function on that player that will reduce their health. Here, we can just go ahead and name it damage. Now, it doesn't exist yet, but that's our next step. We're going to go ahead and create that function on the player script. Let's head back to that player script and add that damage setter function. Let's add an integer to store the player's health, and in the damage function, reduce the health by some amount. We can call the debug.log to verify if the collision works, and I went ahead and changed the damage amount to 100 just to test our death check here. Okay, well now there's definitely an issue. Looks like the collision is working, and it calls the damage function, but it only registers after the player has moved a bit. Not a problem though. Before we fix that, I'm going to add one more thing to our collision check, and that is the normal of the collision. That's basically an arrow that points away from the point of contact. This normal is going to be used to push the player away a bit, just so that we have a more visual cue for collision, as well as giving the player a moment to kind of catch their breath from the zombie. Now we can update the damage function to account for the point of contact, and we can apply a force opposite of that point. We're also going to set a force mode here and explicitly ask that it be an impulse force. That way it acts more like a sudden burst of energy versus the default gradual change that we've been seeing. Let's add a value that multiplies that force so we can fine tune how far back we want the player to be pushed. Still not working, but here's a fix. Add a rigid body to the zombie and uncheck use gravity, and instead check is kinematic. That'll keep the rigid body free to be moved by the NavMesh, and it won't be affected by gravity. Alright, and just like that, we are moving. A few adjustments to make now would be to adjust the push force to something that you're more comfortable with, and change the damage back down to something small like 20 or 10, so that you're not insta-killing the player. Other than that, go ahead and create an empty game object that we can use to store our zombies in the hierarchy. Reset its transform, and after that, Control D some of the zombies, duplicate them, move them around the map, and then just for organization's sake, you can make them a child of this empty game object that we created. And just like that, we have zombies. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something good in this video. Apologies if the tutorials seem like a little rough around the edges. I'm still figuring out how I want to format these videos. So if I missed anything or something wasn't clear in this process, please ask away in the comments. I will get to you as soon as possible. I got notifications on, so I'm here. Make sure to check out my Twitter and TikTok for more game dev related content. I post some 3D stuff, maybe some of my personal projects on there as well. And make sure to subscribe and like this video. There's 2 more episodes left in this tutorial, and they're going to be going over more programmatic concepts, so I think it'll be fun.